Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review to Everton's 3-2 victory yesterday against Fulham at Craven Cottage. A game that really was a game of two halves. First half, Everton were very, very good, very impressive, barring a 10 or 15 minute spell when we conceded. We were dominant, we were getting forward, we were playing some brilliant, fantastic one-touch passes, creating opportunity after opportunity. We scored 3 goals, we could have had 4 or 5 in that first half, and then the second half, which was, let's be honest, absolutely atrocious, wasn't it? I don't think there was many positives we could take from that second half. Tom Davies coming on the pitch and doing quite a good job was probably one of them, but there weren't many others. We're going to talk about the game in all of its detail today, of course. It is the live game review. Get your comments in the live comments if you are watching. Really do appreciate it. Feel free to share the stream as well on social media. Would really appreciate if you could do that. So yeah, listen, we've got loads and loads to talk about in today's review. A game that it feels like it's going to be a bit of a strange one, because usually you want to sit down and you want to talk about a win and you want to be as positive as possible and you want to highlight the positives and not brush over the negatives, but sort of just talk about them and say, but we won the game, so it doesn't really matter. But I feel like the negatives in this game are issues that are occurring constantly, week in, week out, things that we're talking about near enough every week, and it's something that you can't just skip over and you can't just hide under the sort of, oh, we won the game, so it doesn't really matter. And I have seen a lot of Blues on social media, and fair play, saying, look, we won, we took all 3 points, don't worry about anything else, just move on and look forward to Fulham. And in a way, I hope that one big positive to take from this result is that, this is a little bit of a weight lifted off the shoulders of the players and the manager as well, going on a 3-game losing streak, not managing a win since before the first international break against Brighton. Maybe potentially yesterday's performance was just a little bit of nerves and that feeling of just wanting to get that win over the line and wanting to get it over and done with to sort of get rid of that bad run of form. It was Carlo Ancelotti's worst run of form in 14 years, I believe. I think I heard a stat that said it might even be his worst run of form since he began his managerial career 25 years ago. And again, that just shows how good Carlo Ancelotti is, really. The fact that a 3-game losing run is his worst run of form in 25 years. But maybe, and again, might be clutching at straws here, but maybe the reason for that second half performance yesterday was because the players were just trying to get over the line and the players just desperately wanted to win the game so they can forget about that bad run of form. But it's absolutely important that we sit down and we talk about the issues at hand, that we talk about the issues that we saw, the defensive problems, the fact that, again, we've conceded another 2 goals. And even in the games that we're winning, and even in the games that, we're scoring a lot of goals in, look at the Brighton game, for example, earlier on in the season, the West Brom game, this one, we conceded 2 goals in each of those games. That's 2 goals conceded to the 2 of the 3 sides that were promoted, and 2 of the 3 sides that look like they could have a battle on their hands to stay in the Premier League, to be honest. We play Leeds next week, which is going to be a real test. And, ultimately, when you're scoring 4 or 5 or even 3 and you're winning games of football like we did against West Brom earlier on in the season, like we did against Brighton, there's not an awful lot of focus on the fact that you've conceded 2 goals, because certainly in those earlier games, against West Brom, we were scoring at will. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was scoring at 6. You had Richarlison having a field day, Hammers having a field day. So the fact that you conceded 2 was just sort of put down to stupid errors and stupid mistakes. But this is becoming a recurring theme now, as we seem to be conceding 2 every single game. And look, that's fine to an extent when you're playing sides like Fulham and West Brom. No disrespect to those sides, and they haven't got the quality defensively to deal with our attacking threat like Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison and Hammers, who we'll go on to talk about in a little bit. But it's not fine when you're going to be coming up against sides that can actually defend and that won't allow Everton to go and score 3 goals. We simply cannot afford to be relying on scoring 3 goals to win a game of football. Look, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been on fantastic form so far this season, 13 goals in 11 games in all competitions, and we'll talk more about Dom a little bit later on in the stream. But ultimately, there is going to be games where he either doesn't score, or he can only manage to get 1, or he doesn't manage to have a field day like he did yesterday, or like he did against West Brom. And in those games, we can't really afford to be saying, oh, well, Dom wasn't on form, so we've lost that game. We have to be looking at the defensive issues at hand. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all negative. Look, we won the game of football. Ultimately, we've come back off an international break. We left club football on a really bad run of form. 3 straight defeats. Again, 3 games that ultimately you looked at going into them thinking we probably should have got something out of. Certainly a win against Newcastle should have been a necessity. Manchester United aren't a team that are blowing up many people's skirts. We could have beaten them. Southampton are a decent side, but again, it was there for the taking. So to come out of the international break and get 3 points is the most important thing, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to be sitting here and do an hour's live stream where I just completely coat over the issues and then be sitting here this time next week, exactly in a week's time, talking about the Leeds game and saying, oh, we were defensively awful again there and we probably should have learned our lesson from the Fulham game, because ultimately there is lessons to be learned, but there's a lot of positives about this game as well. There's a lot of positives. Richarlison returned and it took us 42 seconds to realise how important Richarlison is to Everton Football Club. He is just absolutely magnificent, isn't he? Both on and off the pitch. For me, he's almost important, almost influential, he's just our best player for me. And as much as I love James Rodriguez, and as much as I think technically James Rodriguez is a level above most football players on the planet, I just think Richarlison brings something that nobody else does. And, you know, we saw how much we massively missed him during the last 3 games and the last 3 defeats, and his return yesterday showed within, like I said, within 42 seconds how important he is to this team. Dominic Calvert-Lewin on fire again. Alex Iwobi was brilliant. So there is a lot of positives to take from the performance, certainly the first half performance, but there's a lot of things that we need to look at going into the game against Leeds, because Leeds aren't a team that are going to allow us to go on and score, 4 or 5 goals. Yes, defensively they've been shaky, but going forward they're very, very good. And what I don't want us to be sitting here next Monday saying, it's the live game review of Everton 5, Leeds 5, because we've just both conceded goals at will. We need to strengthen up our defence. It's not a matter of we need to look at that. It's essential. It's urgent. We won't finish in a European place this season conceding 2 goals a game. I'm sorry, but that's just a realistic outlook and outcome of the situation. We need to show that defence up. But like I said, there is a lot of positives. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comment. If you are watching live, really do appreciate it. Listen, if you could leave the video a like, it would mean a massive amount to me. If you could share the stream on social media, Twitter, Instagram, let's try and get as many people involved as possible. I'm just going to tweet the stream out ourselves. Little bits of information that I want to talk about going into this stream before we move on. Nothing to do with yesterday's game, but it's popped up today and it's only Monday, and I will talk about it in the weekly news roundup at the end of the week, but it's literally come up today and it's Monday, so I thought I'd mention it now. BBC Sport have stated that football fans will be allowed back in stadiums in some capacity from the 2nd of December. I believe when the UK comes out of lockdown on the 2nd of December, we will go back into a tier system, so different regions are placed in different tiers. Those regions that are in the tier 1 sort of restrictions, which are the lowest, they'll be allowed 4,000 fans back in their football stadiums. Those placed in tier 2 will be allowed 2,000 fans, and those placed in tier 3, which is the highest restriction amount, won't be allowed any fans. So listen, obviously it could affect Goodison Park, it could affect Evertonians, because we may be in a situation where come early next year, or even before the end of the year, we're back at Goodison Park in some capacity, or at least some of us. But if I'm being completely and utterly honest with you, I think Liverpool as a city are heading for another tier 3 lockdown, so I don't really think it affects us. It's probably only going to affect the teams south of the Watford border, let's be perfectly honest. But don't want to get too political. It's a little bit of information that I thought I would mention. So anyway, going into the game, Carlo Ancelotti started with a starting 11 that confused an awful lot of people, and that was because Everton's social media graphic tweeted it out, and you had James Rodriguez, who was the 4th name on the team sheet, making it look like he was playing centre half. You had Doucoure, who was the last name on the team sheet, which sort of made it look like he was playing up front. But ultimately, you had Ben Godfrey starting in there, Luca Dean, Michael Keane, Yerry Mina, Alex Iwobi, Alan, Abdoulaye Doucoure, James Rodriguez, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And there was a lot of questions, and obviously Jordan Pickford in goal, and there was a lot of questions regarding the starting 11 and how we'd play and the formation in which we played. And it started off as a back 5, of course, with Godfrey, Mina and Keane taking up the centre-back positions, Luca Dean left wing-back, Alex Iwobi right wing-back, who for me was absolutely fantastic, James Rodriguez, Alan and Doucoure in the centre of the park, with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. And again, We literally didn't even get wind of the formation or the style of football we played before we were 1-0 up. 42 seconds it took for Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison to reignite their partnership up top. Richarlison picking the ball up from a defensive mistake from Fulham and doing exactly what I said we missed of him in that game against Newcastle, where they were playing dodgy balls along the box, in that game against Southampton where we weren't putting any pressure, in the game against Manchester United where Manchester United had been proven that defensively they were an absolute shambles, yet we did not put any pressure on them whatsoever. Within 25 seconds of this game against Fulham, one of their defenders makes a bad pass, and we haven't got Gylfi Sigurdsson to go, shit, I didn't quite make it to that one, or Andre Gomez to go, I didn't quite make it to that one. We've got Richarlison who gets there and makes sure that defender rues that bad pass. He picks the ball up, he dribbles it round a couple of people, he gets straight into the box, plays it across to Dom, and some would say Dom gets a little bit fortunate with the finish. It gets tangled under his legs, whatever you want to call it, and he ends up putting it into the back of the net, and you're 42 seconds in, and we're 1-0 up, and usually the general thought process when you go 1-0 up so early on in the game is, we've scored too early, we're 1-0 up this early on, it's not necessarily a positive thing. But for me, I was just thinking, go out, get a second, get a third in the first 15 minutes, kill this game off, and then just go out and sort of grind the win out. And that was what you sort of expected and wanted Everton to do on Sunday afternoon, but it wasn't always the case, and it wasn't going to be the case, let's be perfectly honest. We don't do anything easy, do we? So as in typical Everton fashion, we go 1-0 up. We continue to play the ball down that left-hand side of Richarlison. We allow James Rodriguez time on the ball, and we're really sort of getting into that flow of that we'd become so accustomed to at the start of the Premier League season. Sorry, little bit of a tickly throat there. And you could see instantly, like I said, the impact that Richarlison has on this team. You could see instantly just how much his ability affected this Everton team. And again, we were continuing to try and get forward. We were continuing to try and create opportunities. There was a couple of scares defensively. I think Bobby Doucoure had an opportunity where he got one-on-one with Jordan Pickford and he just hit his shot wide. And that was should have been a wake-up call for me. That should have been the moment where Everton defensively and as a team thought, you know what, we can't allow those opportunities to happen. We can't allow Fulham to get behind us. We can't allow them to start creating chances, especially when going forward we were creating. We were trying to get another one, make it 2, make it 3, kill the game off quite early. And this is the sort of big issue I have with Everton defensively and in games like this is you look at how good Dominic Calvert-Lewin was yesterday. He was absolutely phenomenal for 90 minutes. Even the second half, when he wasn't given a lot of service, he was still running around. He was still putting his body in the way. He's very, very clever, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I want to talk about him a little bit in a second, a little bit more in a second. You look at, Richarlison, even though he dipped out the game a little bit, and James did as well, and I want to talk about those two. Johnny puts a good comment in. He says, give the South Americans on the team a break. Playing World Cup qualifiers are tough there, and they flew thousands of miles. Next match, they should be good. That's exactly spot on, Johnny, and I'm going to talk about that exact point a little bit later on in the live stream. But you're sort of looking at Dom, and you for me, there's an element of sympathy for him, because you're looking and you're thinking, I feel sorry that you have already scored 2 goals. You're on 13 so far this season. You're in absolute fighting form. Same with Richarlison, brilliant form. James connecting everything. Iwobi was playing well, but you're being let down by poor defensive play. And, you look at, for example, Bobby Doucoure over Reed's goal when we conceded the first goal. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but go and watch the replay and focus on Richarlison. You just see him in the camera angle on BBC. You just about see him. He's on the floor on his knees, punching the floor. And that's the type of mentality that Everton need at this football club. So again, like I said, we're continuing to create chances. We're getting forward. We can't quite finish them. You're sort of thinking, we're going to have a field day here. There's going to be another 3, 4, 5. And then all of a sudden, Fulham get in behind once. We get away with it. Sorry. Wake up call, alarm bells going off, don't let that happen again. No. Typical Everton, 5 minutes later, they come back, they do it again. This time, they score. Bobby Doucoure over Reed completely gets in behind Yerry Mina and Michael Keane. I don't know what Yerry Mina's doing, to be perfectly honest with you, and I am starting a little bit to lose my patience with Yerry Mina, because the most frustrating thing is he's not a centre-half that you look at and you think, you're dreadful, you're an awful centre-back, you can't defend. Yerry Mina, we know, is capable of putting in performances that you look at and you think that's top quality. Look at the performance he put in against Brighton. He was absolutely fantastic against Brighton. You know, he threw his body on the line and everything. It was almost like someone had said to him, if you concede today, you know, you're not going to be able to have your tea tonight, or something mad like that. He was playing like his life depended on it. Like he didn't want to concede the goal because it'd be the end of the world if he did. Those are the types of Yerry Mina performances that we need to see more consistently. Not this type of Yerry Mina performance where he's nowhere near his man, or his position's awful, or he's making stupid mistakes. And that was exactly this situation. And again, I've said it a number of times before, and usually we're not talking about a win, which is fine, and we will be positive in this stream because I think it's important to be positive. Usually we're talking about a loss, but far too many times have we sat here and said Everton have been on the front foot in games, and a stupid defensive mistake has completely turned the game on its head. And that's exactly what happened. We conceded the first goal, and the game sort of flipped on its head a little bit there for a brief 5 or 10 minute spell. They started, you know, gaining a little bit of confidence. They started trying to get forward, but we nullified that very, very quickly. To be fair to us, we made a mistake, and we nullified it very, very quickly. We go up the other end. Alex Iwobi, for me, was absolutely fantastic in this game. Absolutely fantastic. I'll be the first Evertonian to sit here and criticise Alex Iwobi when he isn't playing well. Don't care what anybody says. He was all other than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who, to be fair, was absolutely exceptional. Again, Alex Iwobi was my man of the match yesterday. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was brilliant. Going forward, he done his job. Listen, I've seen a couple of people say, oh yeah, but he sort of faded out the game in the second half. He did fade out the game in the second half because he was playing right back, and he was focused on his defensive duties, and he was trying to defend. He wasn't getting forward, and that wasn't just Alex Iwobi. That was a summary of the team's performance in the second half. Nobody was getting forward. Nobody was helping Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Everybody was sitting back. Everybody was trying to defend. And Alex Iwobi was the same in that. But going forward, again, like I said, in that first half, we again took the game by the scruff of the neck a little bit. We conceded, and you did sort of think after the goal conceded, right, okay, that shouldn't have happened. That again, we've been on top in this game. We've scored within the first minute. We've got a perfect start. Their heads have gone down, and we've gifted them a goal by poor defending, absolutely poor defending, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But we picked the game up and we went at them. And again, like I said, Alex Iwobi, absolutely phenomenal down that right-hand side. Brilliant run, took on a couple of players, passed it to James Rodriguez. The pass by James Rodriguez is absolutely sublime, by the way. It won't be talked about because he doesn't play for Liverpool, or he doesn't play for City, or he doesn't play for United. But the pass by James Rodriguez was absolutely sublime. Gets it over to Luca Dean. Luca Dean plays a brilliant ball into the box, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin's there to finish. There was a little VAR situation, but he was quite clearly onside, and it's 2-1, and you're sort of thinking, right, okay, shades of the West Brom game where we score, we can see the stupid goal, but we go back up the other end and we score again. And if we could have done that again another couple of times and gone out and killed that game completely and had it 4 or 5-1 before they even got their opportunity to score the second goal, then I think we'd be having a similar conversation to the one after the West Brom game where we're saying we were brilliant going forward, we need to be better defensively. But ultimately we went up, we scored the second one again. Dominic Calvert-Lewin deserves a mountain of praise, an absolute mountain of praise in this game, because again, he's come into it and he's scored another 2 goals, and it's becoming not the expectation, because I don't think that's fair to say for Dom. Well, maybe it is. It's becoming the expectation that whenever Dominic Calvert-Lewin's in and around that box and balls are being played in by Luca Dean and balls are being played in by Richarlison and James Rodriguez, you're sort of sitting there expecting Dom to score, and to be fair, he's scoring. I think, not including international football, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's only played in 1 game this season that he hasn't scored in for Everton. And again, I remember in that game, he was absolutely fantastic anyway. He was everywhere. He was making a nuisance of himself. He was working hard. He was getting about the pitch. I think it was the game against Southampton, actually. Oh, he didn't score against Man United, did he, to be fair? But okay, 2 games. Non-international that Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored in this season. Played 11, scored 13 goals. He's the first player in Europe's top 5 leagues to get to 10 goals without any of them being penalties so far this season, and he has been the fastest player in 9 years to reach 10 goals in the Premier League. He's reached 10 goals in 9 games, which is faster than anybody else in the previous 7 years of the Premier League. The other players, Vardy, Aguero, etc., have reached it in 10, 11 games. So that just shows how good Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been this season and how improved he has been this season. Again, the second goal showed that it was fantastic. One-touch player. Wolby takes them on, gets it into Hammers with a brilliant ball to Dean with a first-time ball into the box, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin finishes it. And that shows what we can do. That shows how good we can be going forward. And it also shows, to be fair, how the 3-5-2 or the 5 at the back formation, however you want to look at it, it shows how that can work with your fullbacks pushing forward. Again, both fullbacks having a major part in that goal. Alex Iwobi getting down the right-hand side and getting it to Hammers, and Luca Dean being on the left-hand side to cut it across into Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It was a fantastic goal, and Luca Dean again with another assist. Luca Dean's now on 5 assists, more than any other defender in the Premier League so far this season. Absolutely exceptional. And again, like I said, Dom gets another goal. on the score sheet, and you're sort of thinking, right, okay, he's on an hat-trick now with 20-25 minutes into the game. Surely we can just go and completely kill this game off, go and get Dom another hat-trick, and just, come away with the win and forget about those last 3 games. Again, we continue to press. We're playing that type of football that, let's be perfectly honest, as Evertonians watching the live comments or watching the YouTube videos, please do get involved in the live comments. By the way, we will be getting in them in just a second. But we started to play that type of football, which, let's be honest, we haven't become accustomed to with Everton Football Club. We really, really haven't. And that is the type of football where you're sitting back thinking, yeah, we're sound here. We're going to go and create another 3 or 4 chances. We'll probably score half of them, if not more of them, and we'll win this game comfortably. And you're sort of watching it, enjoying it. And not many times over the years can we honestly say we've enjoyed watching Everton play football. But you are sort of watching it thinking, I'm enjoying this. This is comfortable. It's easy. This is like a training session. This is like the game against West Brom. This is like the game against Brighton. But in the back of your mind, there's always that thought of, we are susceptible to conceding a stupid goal, and it only takes 1 goal in the Premier League for everything to turn on its head, and it showed that when we conceded the second. But anyway, before that, again, we continue to push in the first half. We're playing some brilliant football. The one-touch football is fantastic. Richarlison has an opportunity. I think it was a 3-1. He had an opportunity where the ball gets fizzed into the box by Luca Dean, and he just completely misses it. I did feel a little bit for Richarlison yesterday, because he deserved his goal. He literally had an impact within 40 seconds of being on the pitch and creating, and he more than deserved his goal. And I just want to go back on a point is talking about Richarlison, is when we conceded the first goal before we scored the second, and that is what I mentioned before about watch Richarlison's reaction when Bobby Decordova-Reid scores that first goal. He's on his knees, he's punching the floor. Clean sheets, let's get it absolutely clear. Clean sheets are arguably as important in a game of football as goals. There is going to be some games of football where you'll only manage to score 1 goal, or you mightn't even score any. But if you keep a clean sheet, you can guarantee you're not losing. And I know that sounds like a Michael Owen thing to say. Oh, well, if you don't concede, you won't lose the game. Obviously, if you don't concede, you won't lose the game. It sounds stupid, but it is stupid, but it's simple. And it's the simple things that we aren't getting right, that we need to get right before we even look at any aspirations of finishing in the top 4 or finishing in a European position. It's the simple parts of football that we need to look at and we need to perfect. And one of those simple parts is, if you don't concede, you don't lose. And looking at our attack this season, looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, looking at Richarlison, looking at James Rodriguez, can you honestly sit there and say as an Evertonian that if we kept a clean sheet, you wouldn't be confident of us winning? If you said to me before the game, right, okay, I can either guarantee you 4 goals and no clean sheet, and I'm not going to tell you how many you concede, or I won't guarantee you any goals, I'll guarantee you a clean sheet. I'd take the guaranteed clean sheet any day, because Everton scoring 4 goals with no guaranteeing clean sheet, to me, it still doesn't make me confident that we'd win that game of football when we're conceding 2 against sides like Fulham, who have, let's be honest, without being too disrespectful, got very little creativity in their team. Let's be perfectly honest. If you said to me, I guarantee you keep a clean sheet, but I'm not going to tell you how many you score, I'd be quite confident that Dominic Calvert-Lewin would get a goal in the game, Richarlison would get a goal in the game, and it probably does sound proper stupid, but it's the simple parts of football that we need to perfect, and that is one of them. Look at Richarlison's reaction after we conceded the first goal. He was on his knees, he was punching the floor. That lad has a winning mentality instilled into his brain. He hates losing, he hates conceding, he hates everything about not winning. That's why when he got taken off, which, I do think it was the right decision, to be honest. Probably not for the player he got taken off for, because Gylfi Sigurdsson had about as much impact on the game as I did, sitting on my couch watching it in my Bills. But I do think it was probably right to take him off, because he did look tired and he was fading out the game. But that's the mentality that you want. You want your players to punch the floor when you concede. You want your defenders to think, for fuck's sake, I haven't kept a clean sheet there again. No one's saying, drop your head and think, oh, I haven't kept a clean sheet, so I'm not bothering getting on with the game anymore. Get on with the rest of the game and go and perform, but don't let it happen again. Think, what have we done that for? I'm not letting that happen again. Go out and defend. Whereas a lot of our players, certainly that defence, don't seem to have that on your knees punching the floor reaction. I'm not saying that everybody has to get on their knees and start throwing arms and acting dramatic, but they just don't really seem to be that bothered that they've conceded. And I do worry that there's an element of complacency in this Everton team. I do worry that those defenders are sort of thinking, oh, well, we've conceded, but it doesn't matter because Dom will go up and score another one, or Richie will go up and score, or Hamed will create a chance. I worry in games like yesterday, where the defence can clearly see the attack creating and can clearly see the attack going forward and making chances. I worry that then they'll go, oh, well, doesn't really matter that we've conceded because we'll only go and create more chances anyway. That for me is a big issue. The defenders need to have more of those Richarlison type reactions where when they're conceding, they're absolutely furious at themselves, or they're absolutely furious at the fact that they've conceded, because ultimately, again, I say it as we go on in the scene, we cannot be conceding 2 goals a game. We simply can't. We simply can't, because we can't guarantee that we'll score 3 every game. And let's be fair to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we shouldn't be expecting him to score 3 every game, or score 2 and Richarlison to score 1. That shouldn't be the expectation. We need to focus on defending. But anyway, 2-1 up. Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets a goal. We will go into the live comments in a moment before we talk about the second half. Sorry, throat's getting in the way again. 2-1 up. Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets his second goal of the game. Happy days. Everyone's made up. We're playing free-flowing football, and you're thinking, right, okay, go out and get another 1, get another 2, go and perform the same in the second half, and we'll win this game easily. Again, we continue to create chances. It's that type of football where you're sitting back and you're thinking, is right, this is boss, this is great to watch this. We go up the other end, we're continuing to create. Again, ball comes up to Luca Dean on the wing, plays an unbelievably weighted cross in, and Abdoulaye Doucoure is on the other end of it. Abdoulaye Doucoure is a player I want to talk about as well as Alan in this team, but Abdoulaye Doucoure is on the other end of it, doing what Abdoulaye Doucoure should be doing, getting in the positions that Abdoulaye Doucoure should be getting in, by the way. Scoring goals when there's nobody else on the end of the header, whether it be Calvert-Lewin, whether it be Richarlison. Abdoulaye Doucoure should be there to be on the end of those headers, and he was, and he scored the third, and you're 3-1 up and you're cruising, and Fulham's confidence seemed to be rock bottom, and you're thinking, right, okay, is right, happy days, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Doucoure gets his goal. Doucoure, if you look at his stats from the game yesterday, he was absolutely fantastic. He was brilliant, he really, really was. And I know stats aren't everything, and I know that a lot of people will be happy with those stats, as pass completion rate, the amount of passes each side, the goal, of course. I did think there was parts in the game where him and Alan just sort of allowed the Fulham to play through them a little bit too easily, but ultimately Abdoulaye Doucoure had a good game, in the most. Overall, he had a very good game, and it was a very important goal for Abdoulaye Doucoure, because, like I said, those are the type of positions that he needs to adopt on the football pitch. If there's nobody else in that box to get on the end of that header, Abdoulaye Doucoure should be that box-to-box midfielder who's on the end of those balls, and Abdoulaye Doucoure should be picking up 5-6 goals a season for me doing that. And he done it yesterday, and to be fair to him, it was absolutely fantastic. Bullet header, goes in, 3-1 up, and you're thinking, sound, absolutely sound. With 3-1 up here, no real issues coming from Fulham's end other than the goal. Go in at half time, short it up a little bit, come out, and then, just go out and kill the game off practically. Maybe go and get another 1 or 2 to make it look pretty, but realistically, kill the game off. And, we went in at half time after a very good first half performance, I felt, and we again just didn't bother coming out in the second half, which is something we've seen at numerous points again this season. And before we get into the second half performance, I do want to get into the live comments a little bit. I want to talk more about Doucoure, I want to talk more about Alan, I want to talk more about Alex Iwobi. I've got Tom Davis to talk about, the defence to talk about as well. But let's get into the live comments before we go into any of that. Doswick says, hey guys, long time no seen, I hope everyone is doing well. Great 3 points yesterday, come on you Blues. Hi mate, I hope you are doing well. Yeah, listen, it was a very good 3 points, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. But it would be silly of us to not talk about the the issues in the game as well. Kadir says, hi bro, from North Cyprus, Czech Republic. Hi mate, hope you're doing well. Eugene says, Everton and Liverpool fans could return to stadiums next month under new tier system. They could. Whether they will or not is a completely different question, but they could. Keenan says, Mina is a bit slow to react. Listen, for me, Yerry Mina's sort of in a situation now where if he doesn't start improving and he doesn't start putting in consistent performances, then he won't be playing first team football for Everton for much longer. Let's not forget, we've still got Mason Holgate to come back into this team, who for me is our best centre-half. We've still got a player in Mason Holgate who, towards the back end of last season, was our best centre-half by a country mile, and I still honestly think he is our best centre-half. So if Yerry Mina doesn't start booking his ideas up and performing consistently, he won't be in this Everton team for much longer, and we will talk about the defensive issues in a moment. Uden says, Everton linked with Mariano and stadium update. Mike says, Keane is the problem, got to go. There you go. I disagree, to be fair, Mike, but fair enough. Johnny says, give the South Americans on the team a break. Playing World Cup qualifiers are tough down there, and they flew thousands of miles. Next match, they should be good. We'll talk about that in a second. Eden says, KL pinpoints areas Everton need to improve. Footballer says, Sigurdsson must go. Is there a culprit of the lost game? We will talk about that in a second. Mike says, Keane is a nervous Nelly, slow, and doesn't want the ball. No leader, no distribution, no aggression, terrified, and about time Iwobi did something, anything. Fair enough. Lavavid says, my reaction to yesterday's clue, if we score more than the opponent, we will win games. Cam, what are your thoughts on the second lap? You are right. If we score more than our opponents, we will win. But I just feel like ultimately, listen, that is obvious. That again, that's another one of those things in football where it seems obvious. But look at our game on Saturday, for example, against Leeds United. Can you see Everton scoring 3 or 4 against Leeds? Maybe, because they haven't got a fantastic defensive record, but ultimately we're not going to come out of every game scoring 3 or 4 goals, and we can't come out of every game conceding 2 or 3 goals either. It's just not good enough, and that's the big worry for me. So anyway, we will get back into the live comments, of course. If you are enjoying the stream, by the way, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Share the stream. Let's try and get as many people in here as possible. But we come out for the second half, and again, it was completely the opposite of the performance that we put in the first half. There was no attacking threat, there was no creativity, there was no willingness to get forward. We were just flat in all parts of the game, and I don't know whether that was because Carlo Ancelotti's looked at the side and thought, listen, we're a little bit tired here, so don't go out and exert as much energy, just focus more on defending. But we massively invited that pressure on from Fulham. We practically said to Fulham, look, come at us and attack us, because we don't really want to get out and attack anymore. And that's a really ridiculous thing to do when you think about how good we were attacking in the first half. And we didn't really need to do an awful lot to create chances, because Fulham defensively, again, no disrespect to Fulham, but Fulham defensively aren't a very good footballing side. So we didn't have to exert an awful lot of energy to create opportunities yesterday. For me, we could have easily come out in that second half and created another 2 or 3, maybe a couple more, and absolutely killed that game up before they even had that opportunity to get back into it. But we didn't. We again continue to allow them time on the ball, continue to allow them to come into the game. They break into our box. Ben Godfrey sticks a foot out, and we can see the penalty. Now, look, I don't want to go too deep into Ben Godfrey because he's still very, very young, and I still think he probably wasn't played in his ideal position yesterday. Look, you could say he was played centre-half in a back 5, which, centre-half is his ideal position, but I think centre-half in a back 4 is probably where he's most accustomed to playing. So, there's that argument there, of course, but look, he gives away a penalty, he sticks a foot out, it is a penalty, ultimately, he catches the man, and he doesn't get anything of the ball, and from that point on, I knew, I said that it means the match reaction, I knew. Listen, for the first 5 or 10 minutes of the second half, we were so flat. We offered nothing. We allowed them to get forward. We allowed them to create opportunities. Other than one chance that we had at the start of the second half, where I think we have a free kick. It comes into the box, and Richarlison manages to get his left foot on it, but he doesn't quite put enough venom on it to trouble the goalkeeper. Other than that, we didn't really have anything in that second half whatsoever. And I knew, I said that it means the match reaction. I thought it as soon as they got the penalty. It didn't really matter about the outcome of that penalty. It didn't matter if they scored it or they missed it. it was always going to be a case of they're going to score at some point because we're just inviting that much pressure on. And again, as I'm talking, I keep trying to remind myself, we won this game, Cam. I keep sitting there thinking, I feel like we've lost the game of football, but we've won it. So don't be too harsh, don't be too negative. We've won the game of football, so just be happy. And I am happy, and I'm absolutely made up, and there is a lot of positives, and I'm leaving the positives until last to talk about because I want to end on the positives. Alex Iwobi was a massive positive. Tom Davies coming on, Dom was a big positive as well. Luca Dean's performance was a big positive. But ultimately, again, we concede the penalty. We get very, very fortunate with the penalty. The lad ends up kicking it twice and scanning it over the bar. And again, you would think, you'd sort of sit there and think, right, okay, maybe, just maybe we'll wake up a little bit here and go, hang on, that's a wake-up call. Let's not let them get in that situation again. Let's not let them break through. Let's not let them create chances. Let's not let them get into our box and ultimately, be in a position to score a goal. But we didn't. We allowed them to continue to press us. We allowed them to continue to get us. We allowed them to continue to create. And they come down the other end. Ruben Loftus-Cheek comes on the pitch as a substitute. And within, 5 or 10 minutes of him being on, he gets down that left-hand side, the ball comes in, and he manages to finish it, and he shoots, it deflects off, I think it's Yerry Mina, and it goes into the back of the net, and all of a sudden it's 3-2, there's half an hour to go, and 25 minutes to go, and you're thinking, right, okay, we've got 25 minutes to hold out against the side who have been piss poor so far this season, and who have struggled to score at the best of times. We've got 25 minutes now of them coming at us, breaking at us, trying to create, trying to score, trying to equalise. We dealt with it. And I think a big part of us dealing with that was bringing on Tom Davies, who I want to talk about in a second, because he was very, very good. We dealt with it really, really well. But again, we shouldn't be in that situation. I don't care what anybody says. Going back to the West Brom game, as good as it was to score 5 goals and to win in that fashion, going back to the Brighton game, same again. Same with this game. We shouldn't be in a position where we're conceding 2 goals a game, because we're not always going to come out of that with a win. Ultimately, I said it before and I'll say it again, we cannot rely on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison and James to score and create 4, 5, 6 chances a game, because it's not always going to happen. They will have off days as well. They will have games where they just can't create, where things just don't go well for them. And ultimately, the defence is a big, big issue. And this is the big frustration with Everton Football Club, is because it seems, certainly over my 22 years of being on this planet and supporting Everton, is it always seems like we always get one of them right. We've either got the defence right or we've got the attack right, but we've never got that mix of the two. And it's frustrating, and it's also quite confusing, because when you look at our defence individually, this season included, and you look at the performances and you think, right, Luca Dean performed well consistently this season, more assists than any other player. I know that's going forward, any other defender, sorry. But defensively, he hasn't been massively exposed. Michael Keane's been very good for me, in my opinion, since even after the lockdown. Yerry Mina, okay, has been inconsistent. Seamus Coleman, when he's been in, has done well. But as a collective, we're conceding far too many goals. And as a collective, it's not working. And I honestly think something needs to be changed. Now, whether that's a 3 at the back formation that we adopt, I think I'd prefer Godfrey, Holgate and Keane to be that 3 than Mina. If it's a 2 at the back, I think it should be Holgate and Keane. I'm not a big fan of Ben Godfrey being pushed into right back, because I just think he struggles there, and I don't think it's his best position, and I also don't think he's very comfortable. But, ultimately, there's a big, big issue there that we need to fix, and it's down to Carlo Ancelotti now to go out there, and before next week's game against Leeds, we really, really need to look at those defensive problems and those defensive issues and get them sorted, because we simply cannot be conceding 2 goals a game. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And again, you can kiss any aspirations of Europe goodbye if we're going to continue to do that. And I do want to be positive, because we did win, but we have to look at the realistic side of the situation. Is we come very, very close to not winning that game of football yesterday. And if we'd have come away from Fulham away from home with less than 3 points, a point against the side that, have only won 1 game this season, which was against the team that they're also going to probably be fighting with for relegation, drawn 1 against another side that aren't doing very, very well. If we'd have come away from that game without 3 points, a lot of us would be sitting here saying there's big, big issues that need to be looked at. So the fact that we've won the game, brilliant, yeah, fantastic. We move. There you go, we're back. It took us 40 minutes to get to the annual, or I say annual, it's not annual, the daily computer freezing there, which is good. Usually it's about 5 minutes in. No, but what I was saying is, you know, I'm very, very confident with this Everton attacking line. I'm very confident with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who wouldn't be. You know, a 13 goals in 11 games, top goal scorer in the Premier League, only player in top 5 European leagues to reach 10 goals without a penalty. I'm very confident in Richarlison. He was on the pitch for 40 seconds yesterday, and you've seen his impact. I'm very confident in James Rodriguez. I'm not very confident in the defence. So I personally think our focus needs to be on those clean sheets and keeping those clean sheets, with the understanding that going forward, the attack will sort of look after itself. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will score the chances he gets. James Rodriguez will feed him those chances. Richarlison will feed him those chances. Luka Dean will feed him those chances. But defensively, we have a big issue, and we simply can't be conceding 2 goals in every game. It's just not good enough whatsoever. Anyway, let's get back into the live comments before we go on to talk about some of the positives of yesterday's game. I want to talk about Alex Iwobi. I think he was outstanding. I want to talk about Alain Doucoure in the midfield as well, which is a partnership that I think we do need to talk about. I want to talk about Tom Davies, Luka Dean in a little bit more detail as well. And I also want to talk about a point that was brought up by Johnny Diaz in the comments, in the instant match reaction, and a little bit earlier on in the live comments as well. And that is regarding the South American players and the players that come back from the international break. Jab says, a few games this season we haven't had a shot in 20-30 minutes. This is what's given teams a chance. And we haven't had a shot because the system is being changed. It's not we haven't had a shot necessarily because we haven't been creating the shots. It's we haven't had a shot because the likes of Hammers, who our creative outlet, the likes of Richarlison, who's one of our creative outlets, have been told to focus primarily on defending because we're struggling defensively and we're struggling to get any real consistency defensively. Lavit says, on yesterday I would start with Dean in normal circumstances. I would start Keane and Dean, not sure about the rest. Eric says Iwobi looked more confident. He certainly did. Player 1 says 3-5-2 against Leeds. I think he needs to flood the midfield against them. Gavin says, why do people say that as Keane has been good this year? He leaves his man go every time. We can see from it him and Mina are far too slow. Dospic says happy days. Eric says I like the 3-4-3 in the first half. It worked. It did work going forward, and again in the second half, I think it was just a case of defensively we didn't we focused more on defending, which again, given the defensive performances, is half understandable. Is the stream still freezing, by the way? Let us know in the live comments, because on my camera it's freezing every now and then, whereas on this it's not. So let me know if the stream is still doing okay. Wayne says, Cam, time to ask your mum and dad for a new computer for Kim. I am getting a new computer. I've realised recently that you can actually get computers now on finance. So I'm going to order a new computer. Rest assured that there will not be any technical issues. Well, I can't guarantee that there won't be any technical issues, to be fair, but hopefully the technical issues will will start to narrow down when I get a new computer. I'm aware that the YouTube stream has stopped, but I've got it up on my phone, so hopefully we're still ongoing. Gavin says, how can Doucoure be in the box if he's going short all the time because the centre-backs are holding onto the ball for too long? I hate our centre-backs. Fair enough. Eric says, if we stick to 3 at the back, we need faster centre-backs, and player 1 says Godfrey should be a centre-back when we can. Because of his pace, we automatically move up the pitch 10 or 15 yards, which move the midfield forward. Fair enough. And I think Ben Godfrey will play naturally in that centre-back position, and he did yesterday in a 5 at the back formation, similar with Mason when Mason breaks into the team. The computer is starting to have a little bit of a tantrum with the stream, so we'll try and get through as much as we possibly can. Hopefully it's not too bad. Someone's probably watching Netflix downstairs. I'll blame it on them. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Alex Iwobi for a second because I thought he was absolutely outstanding in yesterday's game. Absolutely outstanding. Let me just refresh the Yard live stream so that we can try and get away from these issues. Nothing should change. Nothing should happen for you. If you are enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It does